What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with a brand new review of Abbott Elementary Season 2, Episode 13. You guys, the episode is titled Fundraiser. This was a good episode, you guys. So get down and, before we do that, before we actually go ahead and get into the review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel, and you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning your post notifications on, and sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's discuss Abbott Elementary, shall we? All right, you guys, so this episode opens up and we see the teachers in the lounge, and there's one young lady who went up to Melissa. So Melissa had some donuts on the table, and the girl was like, "Can I have a donut?" And Melissa is doing some impersonations, and they're terrible. So we see Janine and Jacob in the hallway saying, yeah, you know, Melissa does impersonations, but they're not really good, right? And Melissa and Jacob were impersonating each other, and you're like, we're impersonating each other. Get it? I was like, no. So we see Barbara. So Barbara is in Jacob's class, right? So she's talking to Jacob's class about a fundraiser. And we all know how Jacob is, right? So Jacob really ain't really feeling this fundraiser, but he allows Barbara to talk to the students, right? So Barbara is basically telling the kids, you know, go out there and sell, because they want to take the kids to a museum, right? So Barbara tells them that, you know, basically this is not them asking for handouts. And I was like, Barbara, what do you call this? Because it's asking for handouts. I know you want to do something. I know y'all want to take the kids to this nice museum, but this is definitely screaming, we need money. Our school is defund. Our school don't get enough funding. We need some money. I'm selling this chocolate. You want some chocolate? Take the chocolate. Take the chocolate. That's what it's giving, right? Take the chocolate, right? That's what it's giving. Like you're gonna shank somebody if they don't take the chocolate, right? So yeah, Barbara, I'm so sorry, my love, but it definitely looks like you guys are asking for handouts. And then we move over to Janine's class, who's outside selling the chocolates. And the people are just walking by Janine's kids, right? And Janine was like, you know, maybe you need to just, you know, do something to get their attention. So Janine starts like she Harlem shaking, and I was like, oh my God, Janine, please stop, right? So Maurice came up, and you guys know Maurice is Gregory's best friend, right? So Maurice came up, and one of the little boys said, you want to buy a chocolate from me? He said, hell no. I was like, how rude. He said, good luck with your little fake basketball team. And I had to crack up laughing because it's funny to me. Because I see that a lot. Right? It's not a bad, so here in Texas, I don't know what people do in y'all cities, but I know here in Texas, like in my hometown and here in Dallas, like there's a Walmart that's right across the street from my apartment, and they be talking about going to a football camp. I'm like, I'm not giving you that money for, I don't buy it, but it was so funny. So then Maurice realized that those were Janine's students, and he was like, I'll buy some from them. So he gave the little boy the money and took the candy from him. He's like, that's called running a game. You're going to learn about that one day. I was like, and then he asked Janine out on a date, right? So Janine agrees to the date. So Janine and Maurice have been texting each other. So she says whenever he, you know, whenever something funny, he doesn't text her LMAO, LOL, or ha ha ha. What he does is he does a voice recording of himself and sends it to her. And she also said he sends her text messages of white celebrities that look alike. I was like, huh? Say what now? It was funny to me, but interestingly weird, right? So let's pause here and move forward. So you guys, in this episode, we see Mr. Johnson. So Mr. Johnson, I heard it. I was like, wait a minute. Do I hear a cat meowing? And I did hear a cat. And Jacob found Mr. Johnson and this cat, right? So they argue over what they want to name the cat. So Mr. Johnson says the cat's name is Milton. Cinnamon, I think he said Cinnamon Nut Hill I was like, what? I was asking Mr. Johnson, let's just call the cat Milton, right? So Mr. Johnson was trying to lure the cat out. So Jacob eventually got the cat out, right? So we see this little boy who went to Ava's office, and his he was flooding, right? And so Ava said, "What'd you do? Come to my office and tell me about a flood?" I was like, "Ava, that is terrible." So the little boy is going through a growth spurt, and his pants are just, he's getting tall, so the length of his pants need to be, increased, right? So Ava did a nice thing, and she had some pants in her drawer, and she gave them to him, right? She said, "Get out of here before I come up with another joke." So then she said, "How long have the Hemsworth brothers, right? Liam and what's the other one's name?" He said, "Who was that? What are you talking about?" She said, "The Hemsworth in your pants." I was like, "Oh my God, Ava, leave this kid alone," right? So then we see the teacher. So, they had this little, it looked like a thermometer. So they have a goal that they're trying to get to for this trip. And so Barbara is, she's marking where they are. I'm like, y'all ain't got no money. But it did look like they made, I think I was reading it, and I think it said $2,000. I was like, well, y'all got some money, but y'all ain't got a lot of money. So they then said, so Ava came out there where they were, and she handed them a box with some money in it. So Ava has been selling all the candy, right? And because Ava took some of the kids under her wing, and Melissa, Jacob, and Janine were like, "Yeah, I know you might not want to work with Ava, but you might need to work with Ava," right? So Barbara asked Ava to come with her later because she's going to take some of the kids out and they're going to sell. So Ava's like, "Okay." Let's pause here and move forward, you guys. All right, you guys. So we see Ava and Barbara. So they're outside of the school selling the candy. Ava got a con going on, right? So one of the little kids, she had them she played the hell out that man, right? So she was like, "How many did you say you want to buy from this little girl?" He's like, "How much is it?" I was like, "Oh my God, Ava." So then she was also telling them, you got to come up, look for a white liberal. They looked toward Jacob. He's like, he's not, "I'm independent." So one of the little kids, she said, they should basically telling them pretend you got polio, whatever. I was like, Ava. So we're conning people at this point out of their money. And one of the kids fell, and Jacob was a sucker. So then we see Janine and Gregory. So Gregory was in the podcast by itself because Ava used him, and Ava was out there with Barbara. So Janine was with the step team, right? So Janine said that the step team girls basically told her the moves that she came up with were outdated, right? So then she's talking to Gregory, and she's basically telling him, "Guess who I ran into?" He was like, "Melissa." She was like, "No." "Barbara." "No." "Jacob." She's like, that was more like a hypothetical question. So then she tells him Maurice, and he was like, "Huh?" So, she told him Maurice asked her out, and he was basically telling her to be careful of Maurice. And honestly, I kind of see why he's telling her to be careful of Maurice. I think Maurice is just basically trying to run games just to, get with Janine, if you know what I mean. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. But if you guys get what I mean, I know why he's trying to get with Janine, so to speak, right? So then we see Barbara. So Ava called her to the office to read the announcements, and the announcement was that they have reached their goal for the trip. So, Barbara's like, "Okay, cool, we can stop now." And Ava was like, "No, girl, why stop? We can make more money. That way we can get an actual librarian and not just Alexa with glasses." I was like, "Wait a minute, in y'all library, y'all have an Alexa with glasses on?" Oh, that is so bad. That is bad. But let's pause here and move forward, you guys. All right, you guys, so we're in the teacher's lounge, and we see, so remember I told you, Janine is going out on this date with Maurice, right? So everybody's calling him Mo, and Gregory was like, "Why y'all calling him Mo?" So, where we at? So he finds out that, they're going on a date. She's trying to figure out what she wants to eat. She's going to order a rack of ribs, and Gregory was like, I saw you eat some ribs. I don't think you should eat. Maybe I think he said that to her later, right? But then she told him about how Maurice, bought some chocolates from her students, and Gregory wanted to buy some. I was like, "Gregory, you're starting to show your hand a little bit in this episode." Then we see Mr. Johnson and Jacob arguing about the cat, right? I'm like, oh, so these are supposed to be like two parents who are going through a divorce, and they are fighting over custody of the kid, right? Because Jacob felt like, they agree that the cat would be, take a nap, right? So we move over to Ava and Barbara. So Ava and Barbara are at the mall, and they're selling candy. So then we see the lady that Barbara blackmailed last season from the school board, right? So come to find out, the woman had already bought some candy from the little boy that Ava made fun of his pants, right? And so the lady was like, so she asked, is the candy bar $1 or $2? And so Barbara was like, he's correct. It is $1. She said, well, that's interesting because I just bought some from that young man right there, and he told me it was $2. So, she asked him to come over, and she said, did you charge her $2 for the candy? He said yes. Barbara told him to give her back her change, right? So Barbara was upset with Ava because she found out that Ava has told the kids to increase the price of the candy to make more money, right? And I understood what Ava was actually doing, right? Is it wrong? Absolutely, right? But I kind of understood Ava and with her thought, because later she was telling Barbara, she was like, the reason why she did that is because some of these kids don't have anything, so she was doing that because he didn't, especially this little boy, he has nothing, right? So the money he's making, the little extra that he has, she's telling him to keep it and do something for himself. And I was like, that's actually not a bad thing when you really think about it. What Ava's doing, is it frowned? Is it wrong? Yes, but in the grand scheme of things, she's actually helping the kids out, right? So let's pause here and wrap up the episode. So Melissa, she made a custody agreement for Mr. Johnson and Jacob with the cat. So the cat is going to live full time with Jacob and his boyfriend, right? And Mr. Johnson will get the cat on the weekends. So then we see Jacob. So Jacob is talking to Gregory, and Jacob finally put two and two together that he was like, wait a minute, you like Janine. And he was like, you're being ridiculous. He's no, ridiculous would be like me saying you love Janine because I love Janine. I said you like Janine. And Mr. Johnson overheard, and he was like, the plot thickens with the cat. I was like, okay, what was his name on Austin Powers? Dang, I can't remember. Dr. Evil. So we also found out about the cat, that the cat belongs to one of the little fourth graders. So she brought the cat to school for show and tell, and Mr. Johnson was over there just a boo-hoo crying. It was funny to me. So at the end of it, you guys, Barbara, she did go up to the student because Ava told her, like, Ava knew that lifestyle right before she became who she is, the owner of a school. Barbara told her, you are just the principal, not the owner. But Ava still believes she's the owner. And like I said, what Ava did was frowned upon. Like it is, because I mean, if you go out there and do it in the world, like it's going to be called, it's going to be some illegalities with that, right? I get why she did it. She wants to help the students, right? And I always say this about Ava. Ava, she has her terrible moments, right? But she does have her moments where you can really see that she does care about these kids in her own Ava way. Is it always right? No, but in her own Ava way, she definitely does care about these kids, right? So we see Barbara, and she's talking to the young boy, and she's basically telling him, they could use a salesman like him down at the bake sale, and he can keep 5% of the proceeds. He looked at Ava, he says 90%, she says 10%. He says, deal. And I love that, right? That Barbara had to realize, because, even Ava had to break it down to her, like, you have the luxury of a lot of things. These kids don't have the luxury. So I think that's what woke Barbara up, right? So then at the end of the episode, we see Janine. So Janine is out on that date with Maurice eating them rack of ribs. And I was like, oh my God. Because Gregory, wished her well at one point. And when she was eating them ribs, I was like, I see why Gregory told you not to order the ribs, because she was sloppy with it and it was just all over her face. I was like, oh God, Janine. But it was a really, really funny episode. I loved it. I laughed immensely. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, you guys. Turn your post notifications and share the video, you guys. And until the next time, please stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves, you guys. Wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. So the next two up will be, and they'll probably be up late tonight or early tomorrow morning. I got quite a few videos to get done. I got to do Love and Hip Hop Family Reunion, and I have to do Sisters, then I have to do Growing Up Hip Hop, and Real Housewives of Miami. But those will all be up, like I said, if not tonight, they'll be up tomorrow. I'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.